Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Total Biscuit, and since we're coming towards the end of the year, I thought it appropriate to do something incredibly cliche and give you my top 10 games of 2010. This entirely subjective list is based on what I've enjoyed the most that actually came out this year, and nothing else. Any rage can be kept in the comments section below this video, which I will not read. Actually, I might read it and mock it. That works too. So, without further ado, let's kick it off with number 10. Sitting in at number 10, it's got to be Bizarre Creations' Blur. Why would I choose Blur? Well, I had a lot of fun with Blur this year, particularly because it's one of the only games that came out this year that supports LAN play for 20 players. So when I went down to the Strat LAN this year, we played probably more Blur than anything else, really. An absolutely fantastic Mario Kart-style racing game. Some people accurately described it as Wipeout Zero, and I would kind of agree with that. It's real-world cars with not-so-real power-ups. A lot of speed in there, a lot of nonsense. The single player is pretty good as well. Big fan of it. Crash physics are absolutely fantastic. Yeah, good across the board, really. Good sense of speed in there as well, and the power-ups are amazing fun to use. And unfortunately, Activision decided that it would be a good idea to then shut Bizarre Creations down. So I'm hoping they'll be bought by a less awful publisher at some point in the near future. So congratulations, Bizarre Creations. You come in at number 10. At number 9, it's another Activision game, this one, Transformers War for Cybertron. This has got to be the biggest surprise of this year simply because it was a licensed game that didn't suck. It is really, really good for what it is. It's got a, give or take, about 8-hour campaign with a 3-player co-op mode, which was great fun to play, as well as a surprisingly robust multiplayer mode that takes a few elements from Call of Duty. It also has unbelievable graphics when it comes to representing a really great Transformers world. It's the Transformers game people were waiting for, and I didn't really like Transformers all that much when I was a kid. I just wasn't into it. I watched more of Thundercats and Stingray and Thunderbird and stuff like that. But hey, whatever the case, I loved it. I think this game was absolutely unbelievable, and it could have been so bad. I think that's the thing that really gets me. It could have been awful, absolutely terrible in every possible respect, but they managed to make it great. And there are very few complaints about it, honestly, really are. From sound design to voice acting, through to graphical design, the length of the levels, the variety in the levels, and of course the solid nature of the multiplayer. It is a good all-round package, no doubt about that. So that sits there at number 9. Coming in at number 8, it's Relic's Expandalone. That's a horrible word, isn't it? But we'll call it that anyway. Yes, it's an Expandalone, folks. It's called Chaos Rising, and it was the expansion for Dawn of War 2. The reason I like this is it focused on what made Dawn of War 2 good in the first place, which was the fact that it had an expansive and enjoyable single-player campaign with replayability. It introduced an element of chaotic corruption, which I really enjoyed, put a lot more variety into the squads you had available and the gear you had at your disposal, had a really great storyline. It stuck to the 40k lore very well, and of course it introduced my favorite faction, that of Chaos. I think the only thing that could have made it any better was the use of Tzeentchian stuff as opposed to Khorne and Nurgle, which I'm not quite a fan of in comparison to the wonderful Changer of Ways. Yes, just as planned. Here's hoping they don't screw up Retribution. Oh god, please, please don't. Not another Soulstorm. Coming in at number 7, it's got to be Vigil Games' debut and unbelievably impressive effort, Darksiders. This has been described by many people as Dark Zelda, and that's pretty much exactly what it is. I absolutely love everything about it. I love the combat, I love the design of the enemies and indeed your friends. I love the post-apocalyptic setting, I love the heaven and hell religious stuff that's going on there, and I'm also a big fan of the voice acting, including your little version of a fairy, which is, let's put it this way, a little bit more unpleasant than you would have found in Zelda to begin with. Absolutely wonderful debut, and I'm very happy to see that they're not only working on Darksiders 2, but they're also working on the Warhammer 40,000 MMO. Please don't screw it up. Please don't screw it up. Number 7, folks, it's Darksiders. Coming in at number 6, it's got to be Bad Company 2, which to me is easily my first-person shooter of the year. Absolutely awesome experience. And I do mean experience as well, because that's exactly what Bad Company 2 is. It is a feast for the eyes, it's a feast for the ears, and finally, in a multiplayer first-person shooter, we have a reliable system whereby I can blow a big gaping hole in the wall of that building that the stupid camping snipers hanging out in. It is awesome. I love that. I will never get tired of proper destructible terrain like that, and DICE did an absolutely stellar job in creating what is, to me, easily the PC shooter of the year. no doubt about that. Regardless of the issues at the start of it, whereby there were a few problems here and there that you saw with the server browser and all that kind of thing, once they got that all ironed out, yeah, absolutely wonderful. And of course, the expansion pack Vietnam is out for it now as well, so that's got a new lease of life. Big fan of that. Oh, and big up to EA for giving out a lot of free content, the kind of thing that Activision certainly won't be doing with Black Ops. Riding into town at number 5, it's got to be Red Dead Redemption, which surprised the hell out of me, honestly, in terms of what I was expecting from the Rockstar development team. I've never been too big into GTA. Indeed, the last Grand Theft Auto game I enjoyed properly was probably Vice City, the original. This game just... There's such a maturity in storytelling, there's such an expansive world, there's always something to do, you can just ride through the desert and you'll find new things. I loved the way that it actually delivered the story to you. It was sufficiently mature as well, without being stupid. And it showed that Rockstar can actually tell a story in a genuinely adult manner without resorting to crass humor. They did a really great job with that, and that's why I'm putting it there at a number 5. Might have been a little bit higher if it had had a PC port, and if the controls didn't require 3 hands in order to use effectively. Coming in at number 4, BioWare's masterpiece, one might say. Mass Effect 2 came in earlier this year, and it was impressive. There's no doubt about that. A gripping story that kept me in from start to finish. Redone combat mechanics, which I absolutely adored, as well as a variety of different endings, of course, depending on how well you did. And I love that. I love being rewarded for paying a lot of attention to detail and going OCD and making sure that I get everything and everyone is loyal and all that good stuff. So yeah, big fan of that. Absolutely massive fan of it. And the way that they linked it to the first game was even better. Kept my save file, put it in, and hey presto, hey, there's that guy I saved. Hey, there's all these different references. Yeah, a masterpiece in storytelling for video games, there's no doubt about that. And it did help that it looked absolutely bloody gorgeous. Coming in at number 3, folks. StarCraft 2. Yeah, it's got to be StarCraft 2. Even though I'm no good at it, I've played an awful lot of it, and indeed watched more than I've played. It's become more of a spectator sport to me than an actual game that I play myself. So, StarCraft 2's had a massive impact not only on the gaming scene, but on my life as well over the past 6 to 8 months. So, you've got to put StarCraft 2 in the list, let's be honest. And let's also say that the single-player campaign is absolutely wonderful. Huge fan of that. They really did innovate on the single-player beyond what they really needed to. And even though some people might say the story of the original is better, and I wouldn't necessarily disagree with it, I think the number of different mechanics and the variety that they've put into that, as well as the replayability that they've put in via the branched upgrade system, really added to it. It's absolutely wonderful. Coming in at number 2, it's Demon's Souls, and yes, it does count because it only came out this year in Europe, and a massive delay for whatever reason. They at least released a better version called the Black Phantom Edition, which I'm a proud owner of. This game is so difficult and yet so bloody satisfying. It is constantly creepy, it's got a very depressing atmosphere about it. It's absolutely goddamn beautiful as well, I might add. PlayStation 3 exclusive, and it just is so different to other games. It really is. It's what I've been looking for from an RPG for a very long time. Unforgiving, challenging, it beats you down and makes you learn from your mistakes forcibly, and it has so much innovation in there with the Phantom system as well as the light and dark versions of the worlds. Unbelievable, really. You owe it to yourself to throw at least one controller against the wall in pursuit of happiness with this particular title. And coming in at number 1, it's got to be Bayonetta. There's no question about it. This game to me represents absolute and total perfection in the art of spectacle fighting. And by spectacle fighters, the term coined by the one and only Yahtzee, of course, I'm talking about overly flashy third-person brawlers. And it just... I cannot say anything bad about this game. It's because there isn't anything. The combat is perfect, unbelievably fluid, graphically astonishing, such variety in terms of attacks and combos available, and the actual graphic design of the game and the enemies that you come up with are so totally original, bizarre, and weird. And that game just makes me grin almost every time I play it. If I do something awesome or one of the cutscenes does something funny or whatever, I'm grinning like an idiot the entire way through. It's perfection in design, It's perfection in terms of the responsiveness of the controls. It gets rid of all of that unnecessary stuff that you really don't want out of a spectacle fighter. Yes, I'm looking at you, God of War, who puts in those stupid puzzles and the clumsy platforming. All of that's gone. It's just smooth, slick, and fun the entire way through. And once again, it's one of those games where you strive in pursuit of perfection simply because it's enjoyable to do so. Unbelievable effort from Platinum Games, that one. And if you're going to play it only on 360, because if there is one gripe, it's that the PS3 port isn't quite as good as the 360 version. It is slower, it doesn't look quite as awesome. But yeah, it is an example of Platinum Games doing what they do best. They used to be Clover Studios, and they produced great games like God Hand and Akami. Now they're Platinum Games. They make great stuff like Mad World, Vanquish, and Bayonetta. They just don't make bad games. They are an unbelievable company. I wish them every success in the future, and that is, of course, why Bayonetta is sitting firmly as my favorite game of 2010. There you go, folks. My name's been Total Biscuit, and has been my list of top 10 games for 2010, and I will see you next time.